Welcome to the channel, everybody. Danny and I recently discovered Australian legend John Farnham, and this has been a fantastic experience for us. We reacted to some great songs, and the love and support we have gotten from the Aussies and the Farnham fans has been nothing short of phenomenal. Farnham. I'm sorry, I can't even try to make that work. My apologies. But we've gotten a lot of suggestions as well, not just for more Farnham songs, but for other Australian artists. One name I remember seeing come up quite a lot was a gentleman named Eric Bogle. So Danny and I are going to take a deep dive into one of Eric's best-known songs. This is called "And the Band Played Waltzing Matilda." Eric was known for his anti-war songs. This song definitely fits that bill. It was actually named one of the top 30 Australian songs by the Australasian Performing Rights Association. And that was not easy to learn how to pronounce, by the way. But it is about a serviceman, a young serviceman, who is maimed in the Gallipoli campaign. Now, for any metal fans out there, you might remember that the Gallipoli campaign was also referenced by Sabaton in the songs Cliffs of Gallipoli. This was a campaign that was fought in the Gallipoli Peninsula in Turkey. Very costly. I believe at the end, 500,000 people were wounded, over 100,000 died. But it was very significant. I believe this was the catalyst for the Turkish War of Independence. This was the start of national identity or national consciousness for Australia and New Zealand. Anzac Day, which is April 25th, was conceived to honor the servicemen who fought in the Gallipoli campaign. So I got a feeling this is going to be a lot darker than the Farnham songs that we've done, but I'm very interested in hearing this. Danny, take it from here, brother.
3, 2, 1.
I wrote this song in 1971. Now, the mathematicians will work out that was 38 years ago. Can't believe that, but this is how old this song is. And I wrote it after I saw my first Anzac Day march in Australia, which was in Canberra in 1971. And I wrote this song, and here it is. Next year, John and I celebrate our 30th anniversary together. I bought him a gold watch. I bet you're glad I came into that Salvation Army hostel.
And rescued me.
Now when I was a young man, I carried me pack, and I lived the free life on the rover. From the Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, oh, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, son, it's time you stop rambling, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat, and they gave me a gun, and they marched me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as the ship pulled away from the quay. And amidst all the cheers, the flag waving and tears, we sailed off for Gallipoli.
Wow. That is beautiful. Let's get back to it.
How well I remember that terrible day, how our blood stained the sand and the water, and of how in that hell that they called Sula Bay. We were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turk, he was waiting, he primed himself well. He showered us with bullets and he rained us with shell. And in 5 minutes flat, he'd blown us all to hell. Nearly blew us right back to Australia. But the band played Waltzing Matilda when we stopped to bury our slain. We buried ours and the Turks buried theirs. Then we started all over again. And those that were left, we tried to survive in that mad world of blood, death and fire.
Blood, death, and fire. Well, OGL's already told me that, the song hits home a little. That's all I knew. I haven't done any research on it. I just wanted to feel it. The Turks buried their slain. The Aussies buried their slain. I actually took this request along with, another song, When the War is Over. And forgive me, I can't remember the other one. It's a younger guy. Hold on, I'll tell you. But this, I didn't realize this was a war song too. Guy Sebastian, Battle Scars. So that, and When the War is Over, we're going to play on April 25th, Anzac Day. I'm sorry, I didn't remember because I didn't realize this was a war song. So Anzac Day, Pride Day. We're going to play it on the 25th in honor of everyone who's fell in war, especially, in particular, Australians from this day. Let's get back to it.
And for 10 weary weeks I kept myself alive, though around me the corpses piled higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me off over the head, and when I woke up in me hospital bed and saw what it had done, oh, I wished I was dead. Never knew there was worse things than dying. For I'll go no more waltzing Matilda all around the green bush far and free, to hum tent and pegs a man needs both legs. No more waltzing Matilda for me. So they gathered the crippled, the wounded, the maimed, and they shipped us back home to Australia. The armless, the legless, the blind, the insane, those proud wounded heroes of Suvla. And as our ship sailed into Circular Quay, I looked at the place where me legs used to be, and thank Christ there was nobody waiting for me to grieve, to mourn, or to pity. But the band played Waltzing Matilda as they carried us down the gangway. But nobody cheered, they just stood and stared, then they turned their faces away. And so now, every April, I sit on me porch and I watch the parade pass before me. I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reviving old dreams of past glories. The old men march slowly, old bones stiff and sore, the tired old heroes from a forgotten war. And the young people ask, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question. But the band plays Waltzing Matilda. The old men still answer the call. But as year follows year, more old men disappear. Someday no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come waltzing Matilda with me. And their ghosts may be heard as they march by that billabong. You come a-waltzing Matilda with me.
Thank you very much. God bless.
So, it seems almost petty to break down the song musically, because that was far, far more than music. I'm sure it is for many. For me, I'm gonna press pause and we'll pull up the lyrics. I didn't really need them. His diction was perfect. It makes me think of a few songs, but I don't want to seem disrespectful. Losing the Legs and Arms in particular, Metallica's one. It's a very powerful song about war and coming home with battle scars, which is ironically the name of the other song you guys want me to check out. I didn't know this song was about the war, but I mean, it's beautiful. It's not something I would listen to every day because that would be disrespectful. This song deserves you to be in the right mood, the right state, the right attitude, respect, dignity, loyalty, and admiration for those who died for any cause that was for their own or someone they didn't know, or a fireman running into a building, or a warrior dying on the field, or a dad dying trying to save his kids. It brings a lot of feelings. I wasn't ready for that. I didn't realize the song was, probably should have saved it for the 25th. But here you go. I love all you guys. You guys have been amazing. And girls. I just say guys, okay, I gotta stop that. I know I done said that before. I'm working on it. But yeah, I shed a couple tears, which that's the point. Much love and respect. I, I, I have to feel this goes with mental health as much as anything possibly could. Props to anybody who has lived with this, had this in their family. I have not. I've been lucky enough to where war hasn't taken anyone. Well, I take that back. I got a best friend that suffers from PTSD. And I spent last Christmas with him on Christmas and missed all my family's, all my stuff. It didn't matter though. So I'm gonna let OGL be the wordsmith for this. He had asked me to take some time to take this in, and I didn't really know what he meant. But he wasn't gonna tell me because we do these reactions honestly. And honestly, it humbled me. I love you all. You all have been so great to me. And I appreciate it. Peace, love, no war. Mental health is real. Unity is much needed. And we should do more than talk about it, but we don't have to fight about it. Love you all.
Okay, is there just something in the water down there in Australia that keeps creating all these amazing artists? This song came out of nowhere and hit me in the feels like a wrecking ball. This was absolutely brutal. Musically, this wasn't like a Tool song where you could tie your brain into knots trying to figure out the time signature, or an Epica song where you could spend hours just analyzing the orchestral chart. There's not a whole lot to pick apart here musically. It's a very simple song that is dedicated to storytelling. The song was written in 1971. This performance comes from 2013. Eric was 69 when he did this performance, so there's not going to be any vocal gymnastics here. No quick runs, no false fold growls, no whistle register, nothing like that. What you have is a very natural, relaxed and honest delivery. His tone feels very wizened. There's a lot of warmth in his sound. It feels very friendly. It's honestly the perfect sound for this kind of storytelling because I think it creates an immediate emotional engagement with the character that he's voicing. And the acoustic guitar in the background, it is very sparse, very minimalist. It's very pretty. It's very well composed. I have heard a lot of musicians say that it's a lot harder to do simplicity than it is to do complexity. They're a lot harder to underplay than to overplay. And this guy, he is doing simplicity beautifully. I don't have the theoretical knowledge to break down the little things that he's doing. All I can do is I can just say, hey, that sounds really nice. And it supports the vocal very well. I also think that this combination of this very friendly, warm voice with this sparse acoustic guitar backdrop, it really makes the grimness of these lyrics jump out at you. Lyrics like being slaughtered like lambs, or burying our slain, or trying to survive in a world of blood and fire. They feel much closer because of these things, and it feels like all these terrible things are happening to someone that we care about. And again, that just creates so much emotional involvement within the story. And truth be told, I've actually had to re-record this a couple times because I was breaking down a bit. So, lyrically, these are seriously some of the best lyrics I have ever seen. I read, I think, where he had been writing poetry since he was 8. I can tell. His writing skills are razor sharp. And I could seriously probably talk for hours about a lot of the things he did lyrically here. I am Not going to do that. I'm just going to try to touch on a couple of things that really stood out to me. I find war fascinating. My father was a veteran. My grandfather on my mom's side fought in the Korean War, so there's that. I also just think that war is a very interesting thing to study, can tell us a lot about human nature. So on that alone, this song intrigued me. But I think one of the brilliant things that he did was, first, he establishes the character's lifestyle. He's talking about him living this sort of free, idyllic lifestyle, just sort of wandering, going where he pleases, the rambling man. And then the state comes to him and says, stop rambling, there's work to be done. So right off the bat, you have this metaphor for the loss of innocence. And then when he loses his legs, you will notice that there's no description or discussion of the physical pain, which you would think getting your legs blown off by a shell, that's got to be excruciating, but he does not mention that. He only talks about the emotional effect. First, he talks about when they're being shipped back, the wounded are being shipped back. He mentions, thank God there's no one waiting for me to grieve, to pity. The character is obviously very proud. But then they realize what's happened, when they realize that their legs are gone. And he says, I wished I was dead. This very proud individual is now all of a sudden stripped of his pride because he realizes it's not the physical loss of limbs. It is the fact that he no longer has his personal freedom. He has lost his independence. The war took his life, but left him alive. And I cannot think of anything worse than that. And the way Eric sings it, again, in that warm, natural voice, it really gets you. Especially when you realize that happened to so many people. Like I mentioned, 500,000 wounded. How many stories like this are there? I also like how he discussed when they were sent off to the war. There was all this pageantry, all this cheering. The band was playing. But when the wounded were brought back, there was no cheering. The cheering was replaced by like this stunned, silent revulsion. And that still happens. I think there was a comment below the video that Danny reacted to, where a guy said that wars are started by politicians. They are fought by soldiers. The soldiers win these wars through their own blood and their sacrifice. And then the victory is claimed by the politicians, who then abandon the soldiers. And this is what I love about the song. It is strongly anti-war, but it is not anti-soldier. And I think sometimes people, they disagree with the cause of a war, they disagree with the politics of a war, and they see the soldiers as being merely instruments of that. And that causes, I believe, negativity and resentment to build up. But the soldiers didn't start the war. All they did was do everything in their power to finish it. And a lot of them paid a very, very heavy price. We're big advocates of mental health on this channel. There are a lot of people out there who have been broken by war, physically and mentally. They need our support, not our judgment. The last thing I want to bring up is when he talked about the old men marching proudly. So one of my favorite lyrics, what was it? Reliving dreams of past glory. Not reliving past glories, reliving the dreams of them. The ideal, what they believed that they were fighting for. Not the reality of it, but what they, inside their head, were fighting for. And he said, the old men still answer the call, but as year follows year, more old men disappear. And that dream and that ideal gets lost along with them, and all that's replaced is the apathy of the generation that follows. I think that is one of the greatest things about art, is it can tell stories that might otherwise be lost. It can keep stories alive that might otherwise be lost. I think that's one of the great things about reaction channels, even a small one like this one. I mean, we're not a reaction channel per se, but we do a lot of reactions here. But one of the great things about doing reactions like this is we can take that message and we can spread it to others. If one other person hears this song and understands the plight of these people, that's an amazing thing. That is something worth celebrating. This has been an amazing experience. This has been very inspiring. I'm sorry if I've bored you guys, but this really, heart and head are both kind of, overstimulated at this point. So I'll leave you all with that. Mental health is real. Let's be a part of the start. Everyone that you know is fighting an invisible battle. Please consider that before judging them. Everyone have a fantastic day. Be safe.